Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Surbhi Sharma. This is my first video on YouTube. In this video I will teach you constitutional framework. Today I will read the historical background of constitutional framework. I will teach the company rule. 7. Historical background. The British came to India in 1600 as traders in the form of East India Company, which had the exclusive right of trading in India under a charter granted by Queen Elizabeth. In 1858, in the wake of Sepoy Mutiny, the British Crown assumed direct responsibility for the governance of India. This rule continued until India was granted independence on August 15, 1947. With independence came the need of a constitution as suggested by M.N. Roy, a pioneer of communist movement in India. In 1934, a constituent assembly was formed for this purpose in 1946, and on January 26, 1950, the constitution came into being. The Company Rule. The first act was Regulating Act of 1773. This act is of great constitutional importance as it was the first step taken by the British government to control and regulate the affairs of the East India Company in India. Features of the act. It designated the Governor of Bengal as the Governor-General of Bengal and created an executive council of 4 members to assist him. The first such Governor-General was Lord Warren Hastings. It provided the establishment of Supreme Court at Calcutta 1774, comprising 1 Chief Justice and 3 other judges. The second act was Pitt's India Act of 1784. In a bid to rectify the defects of the Regulating Act of 1773, the British Parliament passed the Amending Act of 1781, also known as the Act of Settlement. Features of the Act. It distinguished between the commercial and political functions of the company. It allowed the Court of Directors to manage the commercial affairs but created to manage the political affairs. Thus, it established a system of double government. It empowered the Board of Control to supervise and direct all operations of the civil and military government or revenues of the British possessions in India. Thus, the act was significant for 2 reasons. First, the company's terrorists in India were for the first time called the British possessions in India. And second, the British government was given the supreme control over company affairs and its administration in India. The next one, Charter Act of 1833. This act was the final step towards centralization in British India. Features of the act. It made the Governor-General of Bengal as the Governor-General of India and vested in him all civil and military powers. It deprived the Governor of Bombay and Madras of their legislative powers. The Governor-General of India was given exclusive legislative powers for the entire British India. The laws made under the previous acts were called as regulations, while laws made under this act were called as acts. It ended the activities of the East India Company as a commercial body, which became a purely administrative body. The Charter Act of 1833 attempted to introduce a system of open competition for selection of civil servants and stated that the Indians should not be debarred from holding any place, office, etc. Next one, Charter Act of 1853. This was the last of the series of Charter Act passed by the British Parliament between 1793 and 1853. It was a significant constitutional landmark. Features of the Act. It separated for the first time the legislative and executive functions of the Governor-General's Council. It provided for addition of 6 new members called legislative councillors to the council. It introduced an open competition system of selection and recruitment of civil servants. Maculary Committee, the Committee on the Indian Civil Service, was appointed in 1854. It introduced for the first time local representatives in the Indian Central Legislative Council of the 6 new legislative members of the Governor-General Councils. 4 members were appointed by the local government of Madras, Bombay, Bengal and Agra. Tomorrow we will cover